The bitter tea sat untouched on the desk. Steam no longer rose from the ceramic cup. Commander Suso Kurihara rubbed his tired eyes. 18 hours had passed since the intercepted transmission arrived. March 15, 1944. The date would haunt Japanese naval intelligence forever. At the Wada Communications Unit, frustration filled every corner. Japan's finest crypt analysts surrounded tables covered with papers. Radio static crackled through speakers. Strange sounds emerged from the receivers. Beshlo, Dahitihi, Dahit Descartes. These weren't random noises. Patterns existed within the mysterious transmissions. Structure suggested military communication. Timing preceded American attacks with clockwork precision. Duration matched operational orders perfectly. Frequency usage followed Marine Corps protocols exactly. Yet the language itself remained a fortress, unlike anything in their extensive files. Allied communication systems had been mapped completely. This was different. The Iwata facility represented Japan's intelligence crown jewel. 20 miles from Tokyo, it housed 500 personnel. Radio receivers numbered 118. Direction finders totaled 20. Sophistication reached world-class levels. Success stories filled their records. American diplomatic traffic had been broken. British naval communications lay exposed. Multiple Army codes surrendered their secrets. The State Department's Purple Code fell before Pearl Harbor. Crucial intelligence flowed throughout the early war years. Yet, these Marine transmissions defied everything. 3 years into the war, dozens of Allied codes had crumbled. Japan's best minds faced complete failure. Basic patterns remained invisible. The impossible had happened. What Commander Kurihara couldn't know would reshape warfare forever. No Japanese intelligence officer would understand until surrender came. The story began thousands of miles away. In America's southwest, ancient wisdom waited. The Navajo people had preserved something extraordinary. Dene Bizad lived in their hearts. The Navajo language belonged to the Athabascan family. Speakers numbered approximately 170,000 in 1940. The 27,000 square mile reservation contained most of them. Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado held their homeland. Linguistic characteristics had evolved across millennia. These same features would confound codebreakers completely. Navajo centered itself on verbs. Actions received complex prefix combinations. Millions of possibilities existed. 4 distinct tones shaped every word. High, low, rising, and falling tones changed meanings entirely. Slight mispronunciation destroyed comprehension. Entire sentences became meaningless with wrong inflection. Phonology included impossible sounds. Sounds absent from Japanese, English, most world languages. Ejective stops exploded air using the glottis. Voiceless lateral fricatives sounded like wind through teeth. Glottalized sonorants twisted familiar patterns. Nasalized vowels defied recognition. Japanese speakers knew 5 vowel sounds. Accurately hearing these phonemes seemed impossible. The linguistic fortress stood impregnable. Military potential lay hidden within ancient patterns. Philip Johnston saw what others missed. Born in 1892, he grew up on the reservation. Protestant missionary parents raised him among Navajo families. By 9, he translated sermons fluently. Fewer than 30 non-Navajos worldwide shared this ability. Age 15 brought a remarkable journey. Washington called for his translation skills. President Theodore Roosevelt met with Navajo leaders. Johnston bridged 2 worlds with words. This experience planted seeds of understanding. December 1941 changed everything. Pearl Harbor's smoke still rose when Johnston read crucial reports. Army units used Choctaw speakers in Louisiana. Training exercises proved the concept worked, but these efforts remained improvised and limited. Johnston envisioned something revolutionary, a formal military code based on Navajo structure, unbreakable security combined with practical battlefield use. The idea consumed his thoughts completely. February 28, 1942, brought opportunity. Camp Elliott near San Diego hosted the demonstration. Major General Clayton Vogel listened intently. 4 Navajos from Los Angeles participated. Marine officers timed every transmission. Results amazed everyone present. Navajo speakers completed messages in 20 seconds. The M209 cipher machine required 30 minutes. Speed combined with security created perfect military communication. General Vogel authorized immediate testing. May 4, 1942, marked the beginning. Fort Wingate, New Mexico, welcomed 29 Navajo recruits. Chester Nez, Carl Gorman, Lloyd Oliver, and John Benally led the group. Men came from across the reservation. Backgrounds varied dramatically among recruits. Some attended boarding schools where Navajo was forbidden. Punishment followed any use of native language. Others were traditional sheep herders. These men rarely left ancestral lands. Camp Elliott became their laboratory. A locked, guarded building housed their work. 8 weeks stretched before them. Creating military code within native language seemed impossible. The task required incredible innovation. Monumental challenges faced the code creators. Military terminology didn't exist in Navajo. Alphabet systems needed complete development. Memorability was essential for battlefield use. Expandability allowed future additions. Cultural logic guided every decision. Submarines became beshlo, ironfish swimming beneath waves. Battleships transformed into lotso, whales ruling the ocean. Fighter planes became dahe-tihai, hummingbirds darting through air. Bombers received the name jesho, buzzards circling before descent. The alphabet demanded special creativity. Each letter required multiple Navajo words. Frequency analysis needed complete prevention. The letter E appeared most in English. 4 alternatives prevented patterns. A became Wolachi, ant. L became Dibe-Yazi, lamb. A received Belasana, apple. Ze, elk. Ahja, ear. And Ana, eye. Code talkers would alternate randomly between options. Patterns disappeared completely. They developed 211 initial terms. Perfect memorization was mandatory. Code books risked capture. Chester Nez remembered endless drilling. Mistakes could cost American lives. Navajo culture treated words as sacred power. Speaking correctly carried spiritual weight. This responsibility never left their minds. August 1942 brought the first test. Guadalcanal awaited 15 code talkers. The 1st Marine Division landed with ancient weapons. Japanese forces expected the invasion. Other Allied communications had been decoded successfully. Suddenly, Marine tactical messages became incomprehensible. At Rabaul, Japanese 8th Fleet headquarters scrambled for answers. Intelligence officers faced complete bewilderment. Lieutenant Kazuo Yamada held Stanford education. His report revealed total confusion. Structured patterns suggested language clearly. Consistency appeared throughout transmissions. But nothing matched existing knowledge. Not English, French, Dutch, or Spanish. No Philippine dialect fit the sounds. Chinese dialects failed to match. Complete alien communication had appeared. Japanese response became systematic immediately. Top cryptanalysts received priority assignment. Hundreds of hours filled wax cylinders. Every analytical technique was applied. University linguists joined the effort. Buddhist monks studied ancient languages. Nothing worked against the mystery. November 8, 1942, brought battlefield proof. Code talker Chester Nez transmitted artillery coordinates. A Japanese machine gun nest threatened Marines. The 14-second transmission was intercepted immediately. Japanese operators heard meaningless noise. Within minutes, American shells fell precisely. The machine gun nest disappeared completely. Colonel Haruo Konuma led intelligence for the 17th Army. His report captured Japanese desperation. American deployment of unbreakable code defeated every attempt. Anticipating attacks became impossible. Japanese forces fought completely blind. Intelligence advantage had vanished overnight. Traditional warfare assumptions crumbled. Joe Kiyumiya represented Japan's best hope. The Navajo soldier was captured at Bataan in April 1942. Fluency in Navajo made him valuable. When intercepted transmissions arrived, hope soared briefly. The Ofuna Interrogation Center became his prison. Japanese cryptographers played code talker recordings. Kiyumiya heard familiar Navajo words, but combinations made no sense whatsoever. The turtle attacks the ironfish. The hummingbird carries eggs. Translation remained impossible despite native fluency. Interrogators accused him of lying. Torture escalated systematically over months. Water torture, beatings, hanging by arms for hours. Winter 1943 brought new cruelty. Naked standing in snow until feet froze. Starvation reduced him to 90 pounds. Food was offered for translations. Through everything, Kiyumiya repeated the truth. Words were familiar, but meanings remained hidden. May 1943 Japanese intelligence report documented complete frustration. The prisoner understood the language, but couldn't comprehend messages. Assessment offered two possibilities: either extraordinary resistance or specialized code within native language. The second assessment proved correct. Even fluent Navajo speakers needed specific training. 3.5 years of captivity followed. Kiyumiya's inability convinced Japanese intelligence they faced something unprecedented. By late 1943, decoding attempts largely ceased. The mystery had defeated Japan's best efforts. Success at Guadalcanal triggered immediate expansion. Major General Alexander Vandegrift praised the innovation. Navajo communicators had proven invaluable beyond measure. Transmissions exceeded any encoding device for speed. Absolute security was guaranteed. Formal code talker training began at Camp Pendleton. Classes processed every 8 weeks. Between 375 and 420 Navajo Marines served as code talkers. All 6 Marine divisions received their services. Training differed from anything in Marine Corps history. Soundproof booths contained practice sessions. Instructors introduced battlefield noises during transmission. Gas masks were worn during communication practice. Exhaustion was pushed to limits. Thomas Bigay enlisted at 15. His description captured the intensity. Training pushed beyond possible human endurance. Lives depended on perfect accuracy. No mistakes could be tolerated. The code evolved with warfare itself. New technologies demanded new vocabulary. Atomic bombs became Ayashi, metal eggs. Kamikaze pilots received Netaji designation, Deathwind. Each edition followed Navajo logic. Outsiders found comprehension impossible. Mid-1943 brought renewed Japanese efforts. Imperial Navy's 4th Section assigned resources. 30 cryptanalysts worked exclusively on transmissions. Captain Yoshiro Tanaka tried innovative approaches. Musical analysis searched for tonal patterns. Native American recordings provided comparison. Scholars who studied in America joined consultations. Special recording equipment slowed transmissions without distorting pitch. Visual sound representations used oscilloscopes. Statistical analysis examined frequencies and patterns. Lieutenant Commander Masao Yamada revealed later discoveries. Certain patterns were identified successfully. Probable call signs emerged from analysis. Correlation between message length and operation complexity appeared. Without understanding words, minimal value resulted. Japanese forces received capture orders. Marine communication personnel became priority targets. Rewards of 10,000 yen were offered. 10 years' salary for code talker equipment. Several close calls occurred during combat. No code talker was ever captured with equipment intact. The Central Pacific Campaign demonstrated strategic importance. Tarawa, in November 1943, tested limits. 6 code talkers maintained communications through 76 hours. Brutal combat surrounded every transmission. Lloyd Oliver transmitted continuously for 48 hours. Naval gunfire coordination continued despite constant shelling. Mariana Campaign required 24 code talkers at Saipan. Round-the-clock operations maintained communication. Lieutenant Commander Takashi Hirakawa had decoded conventional communications. The invasion was anticipated perfectly, but marine landing eliminated tactical intelligence. Colonel Takashi Saito noted commander abandonment. Intelligence they depended upon had vanished. At Peleliu, code talker Jimmy King transmitted alone. His partner was killed during counterattack. 6 hours of continuous transmission followed. Artillery from 3 battalions required coordination. 40 messages were sent without error. Direct fire couldn't stop communication. Iwo Jima represented the greatest contribution. Major Howard Connor coordinated the entire initial assault. Navajo Code directed every operation. 6 code talkers worked in teams. Continuous communication was maintained throughout invasion. Critical first 48 hours required perfect execution. General Tadamichi Kuribayashi had prepared for 2 years. Underground fortress contained 11 miles of tunnels. Defensive plans relied on intercepting communications. Counterattacks would be triggered by intelligence. This plan failed completely. Over 48 hours, 6 code talkers sent 800 messages. Every transmission was error-free. 30,000 Marines required coordination. Naval gunfire from 100 ships needed direction. Close air support demanded precise timing. Enemy positions were reported constantly. Medical evacuations were coordinated. Supplies were requested and directed. All communication occurred under constant fire. Major Connor testified later about Navajo importance. Without them, Marines never would have taken Iwo Jima. 6 radio nets operated around the clock. Over 800 messages without error. Entire operations were directed by Navajo Code. Colonel Shigeo Hayashi reported to Kuribayashi. American codes remained completely unbreakable. Artillery requests completed in 20 seconds. Conventional encoding required 30 minutes. The difference determined position survival. Okinawa demanded 35 code talkers. The largest Pacific assault involved 183,000 troops. 82 days of combat required constant communication. Japanese forces attempted jamming and voice mimicry. Navajo tonal qualities couldn't be reproduced. Lieutenant Hiroshi Miyamoto's attempts failed completely. Code talker Alfred Newman described the sounds, like someone gargling while trying to talk. August 14, 1945, brought the most significant message. Code talker Teddy Draper transmitted surrender news. Nehema Akata Gini Adod Senil, Japanese surrender. Navajo carried the message before conventional channels. A fitting end to code talker warfare. American interrogators discovered Japanese efforts after surrender. Complete failure was documented thoroughly. Lieutenant General Suso Kurihara led Japanese intelligence. His admission was stark and complete. Marine code was never broken. Army codes fell to analysis. Air Force codes surrendered their secrets. Diplomatic traffic was readable. Marine Tactical Code remained completely secure. Captain Yasuji Kawamoto provided specific details. Thousands of transmissions were recorded. Best linguists studied them for 3 years. Nothing worked against the mystery. Greatest cryptanalytic failure in history. 1944 analysts had noted tonal patterns. Indigenous American languages were suspected. German assistance was requested urgently. Wartime difficulties and German ignorance prevented breakthrough. Colonel Masao Yamada admitted strategic cost. Marine communications remained unreadable. Every operation after 1942 was mystery. Thousands of lives were lost. Major Hiroshi Tanaka survived Iwo Jima. Psychological impact was devastating. American words couldn't be understood. Primitive feelings emerged before battles began. Defeat was felt spiritually. War's end didn't end code talker burdens. Classification continued for Cold War purposes. Code talkers returned home unable to discuss service. Recognition was impossible to share. States denied them voting rights. New Mexico and Arizona waited until 1948. Utah extended rights in 1957. Hotels and restaurants refused service. Heroes couldn't reveal their heroism. Chester Nez was last of original 29. He died in 2014, carrying heavy burdens. Warriors helped win the war silently. Many found healing through traditional ceremonies. Enemy Way ceremony purified warriors. Warfare's spiritual contamination required cleansing. Danaki explained the process. Language had directed death in war. Healing required the same sacred words. Ceremonies reminded everyone language was sacred. Spiritual balance needed restoration. 1968 brought program declassification. First recognition came in 1969. 4th Marine Division reunion acknowledged service. President Reagan declared August 14, 1982, National Navajo Code Talker Day. Most significant recognition arrived July 26, 2001. President Bush presented Congressional Gold Medals. Original 29 were honored in Capitol Rotunda. Only 5 originals survived to attend. Bush declared historic recognition. 29 Native Americans gave unique service. Only they could provide such capability. Chester Nez responded with characteristic humility. Ordinary men received extraordinary tasks. Sacred language helped win the war. Navajo are most famous, but 14 other tribes contributed. Choctaw pioneered the concept in World War I. 17 Comanche code talkers served in Europe. D-Day landings included their service. Hopi, Cherokee, Lakota, and others contributed languages. 2008 Code Talkers Recognition Act acknowledged all tribes. John Brown Jr. observed historical irony. Language was declared no good. Then it was needed to win. The code demonstrated Native American linguistic sophistication. Code talkers modernized Navajo in real time. Grammatical constructions were created instantly. Metaphors adapted for military purposes. Agglutinative nature allowed complex single words. English paragraphs became brief Navajo phrases. Dr. William Morgan noted linguistic proof. Indigenous languages weren't primitive. Navajo could express anything from ceremonies to warfare. The code introduced cultural encryption, security through linguistic barriers no mathematics could overcome. Post-war intelligence operations were influenced. Quantum computing threatens mathematical encryption. Concept remains relevant today. Colonel David Hatch evaluated the achievement. Something unique was accomplished. Never broken, never compromised code. Human linguistic capability exceeded mechanical encryption. 1980s Japanese scholarship examined their failure. Professor Takayo Yoshikawa revealed extensive efforts. 30 cryptanalysts worked exclusively for 2 years. Multiple universities were consulted. Captain Minoru Yamada revealed partial knowledge. Native American language was suspected by late 1943. Specific language identification remained impossible. Lieutenant Commander Shigeru Fukumoto admitted oversight. Using native language was simple, elegant. They never considered the possibility. 1990s photographer Kenji Kawano documented survivors. Tokyo and Hiroshima exhibitions introduced Japanese audiences. Code talker Albert Smith addressed Japanese audiences. Both sides were warriors in conflict. Language helped defeat them. Now it helps create understanding. 2010 Japanese Association of Intelligence Studies held symposium. Admiral Hiroyuki Agawa featured Navajo code. Perfect encryption was achieved. Asia's best code breakers were defeated. Chester Nez died June 4, 2014. Today, only 2 code talkers survive. Thomas H. Begay and Peter MacDonald continue. Neither was among original 29. Both were crucial to operational success. Peter MacDonald continues speaking at 96. America's strength comes from diversity. Different languages and cultures create power. Navajo language, once suppressed, now receives recognition. Strategic importance is acknowledged officially. Federal funding references code talker history. Young Native Americans study ancestral languages. New pride fills their hearts. Dr. Jennifer Dennett-Dale observed transformation. Code talkers changed Native American self-perception. America's view of Native Americans changed. Languages aren't museum pieces. Living resources serve modern purposes. Navajo code talkers achieved military history's remarkable feat. Unbreakable code defied Japanese intelligence throughout World War II. Between 375 and 420 Navajo Marines served. Tens of thousands of messages transmitted without error. Combat conditions never stopped communication. Deeper significance lies in representation. American Indians used native language. Government had tried to eradicate this language. These same people defended the nation. Marginalized communities provided unmatched capabilities. Sophisticated allies couldn't match their contribution. Japanese failure wasn't just tactical defeat. Fundamental blindness prevented understanding. American technology and codes were anticipated. American diversity remained invisible. Languages and cultures couldn't be accessed. Empire proclaiming racial superiority was defeated. Diversity provided the victory margin. Lieutenant General Arisue's admission acknowledged truth. Marines' code was never cracked, challenging an opponent whose strength came from incomprehensible sources. Code talkers embodied America Japan couldn't understand. Industrial capacity wasn't America's greatest strength. Human diversity provided unbeatable advantage. Linguistic variety became strategic weapon. Language boarding schools tried eliminating. Pacific victory required this same language. Last code talkers pass into history. Their legacy endures in multiple ways. Forbidden language is taught with pride. Native American veterans receive recognition. Highest per capita service rates are acknowledged. Diversity, strengthening security, is accepted doctrine. Voices speaking Navajo across Pacific battlefields carried transcendent messages. America's strength comes from many voices. People's languages united in purpose. Differences strengthen rather than weaken. Unbroken code proves differences aren't weaknesses. Strengths should be celebrated, preserved, deployed. Japanese intelligence officers understood magnitude. Their defeat recognized transcendent truth. Some codes are unbreakable through human complexity. Mathematical complexity isn't always necessary. Human cultures provide infinite complexity. Code talkers sent messages Japan never decoded. Greatest message was universal truth. Diversity brings strength to nations. Culture brings power to people. Indigenous knowledge serves modern purposes. Young Navajo men used sacred language. Weapon became instrument of peace. America's greatest encryption is diversity itself. Unbreakable because it emerges from limitless human experience. Wisdom from countless generations provides security. Unbroken code remains unbroken today, living in every native child. Ancestral language spoken with pride. Every recognition that minority contributions strengthen identity. Understanding that differences make stronger together. Code talkers proved differences are strengths. Eternal proof that many voices work. Peoples and languages united yet diverse. Unbreakable code of freedom itself emerges.